that. We have been in Hong Kong about 5 years now, and Hillsdale has been supporting us that entire time, actually even before we made it to the field while we were on deputation. You all started supporting us, and we're just really grateful for your kindness to us, the ministry of the gospel that you are having through us in Hong Kong. And I don't know if you know this, but that's really why missionaries come back to tell you what's going on. It's not so that you can be like, we want to make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. I mean, that's a part of it, okay? But hopefully that gets checked up on multiple times, right? You have an idea of what's happening. We're not just sitting over there by the pool, all right, and enjoying Hong Kong or by the ocean. We're actually doing things for gospel ministry. But I believe there's several reasons why I love to get an update. One is so you can be encouraged to see how God is using your ministry, specifically your giving and your praying, to help spread the gospel to parts of the world that you're not going to be there for. All right? And we're not the only ones. You've got a bunch of them out there, which is great. So one is to encourage you about what God is doing in places that you can't be. The second thing I love about giving a missionary update is to kind of demysticize what a missionary is. All right? A missionary is not somebody who, like the prophets of old, God called before they were born and they had this special thing on them. And, they were the prophets of God. And when they walked in, it was like they had a halo on their head. And I promise you, my wife could give you many testimonies of why this is not true about me, all right? I promise you there's no halo anywhere near me, okay? But what missions is really people just trying to live out their full surrender to Jesus Christ wherever God has called them. It's not any different than you living out your full surrender to Jesus Christ right here in this area where God has called you. It's not that there's some special thing for missionaries. We are no more gifted than any other person in the body of Christ. God has just called us to do something a little different in a different place. And my encouragement to you is to allow, when you hear from missionaries, when you hear from people that are doing something for the Lord different or in a different place than where you are, for you to say, Lord, what should I be doing for you? What should my life be doing in service for you? Because that's really what God has called us all to do. And then the third thing, so encouraging, demysticizing missions, all right? That it's not some, crazy otherworldly thing. It's just normal Christian service lived out in a different place. And then the third thing I love to do is to challenge people and say, why not you? Maybe God would have you take your family, maybe you're not even a family yet, teenagers, all right? Some of you are really excited about someday having a family, all right? Patience. I have a son who just finished his freshman year at Maranatha, and I keep telling him, patience, my son, patience, all right? Sees all his siblings getting married, and he's like, I'm next. It's like, no, not yet. But one day, as God gives you a family, maybe God would have you consider taking what you're doing in service for the Lord somewhere other than the U.S. It doesn't even have to be in necessarily a pastoral or Bible teaching role directly. Do you know, at least in Hong Kong, and I would think it would be this way in many other places around the world, you could take your work, whatever it is, and just say, you know what, Lord, if you would have me work somewhere other than the U.S., I'll go take my normal work, go live there, and help out a church somewhere around the world that doesn't have a whole lot of people there to help serve. And you would be a huge blessing. Of course, you could do that right here in the U.S., right? You could find, and what I'm trying to encourage people to do is to, as Jesus said, get your heads up, look, see the fields that are white to harvest, and consider. God doesn't call everybody to do that, but He might call you. He might want you to be willing to say, Lord, whatever. Where do you want us to go? What do you want us to do? How can we serve? How can we be a blessing? So we've been in Hong Kong for about 5 years. Hong Kong is a city of about 8 million people. As Pastor already mentioned, Hong Kong is not technically, how do I say this? Hong Kong is labeled as a SAR, S-A-R, a special administrative region. In 1997, it was given back to China from Great Britain under a one country, two systems kind of slogan. And so while Hong Kong is a part of China, it's also kind of a separate system, kind of, but becoming less of a separate system, if that makes sense, if I can put it that way. So we've been there about 5 years. It looks like New York City as far as the size of it, as far as skyscrapers, as far as a downtown area. But I tell people it's a New York City that is cleaner and safer. All right, because in Hong Kong, it's not all clean, all right, but at least on the subway, there's not stuff everywhere, and you don't have to worry about somebody pulling a gun on you or even a knife usually. There's crime, but not at the level that in New York. So we enjoy where we are. We love the ministry there, and there is a lot of possibilities to go on there. Let me show you one verse. Go to your Bibles in Romans chapter 15. Romans chapter 15, and I'm kind of going to just jump in on this verse. Forgive me for doing that. Romans chapter 15, verse 20. Romans 15, verse 20. I love Paul's statement here, and this isn't necessarily a direct missions statement, but he's making a point here about what he's trying to be careful to do and not to do. He says, in verse 20, "Yea, so I have strived to preach the gospel not where Christ was named, lest I should build on another man's foundation." Now, as Pastor Smith already mentioned, I spent 20 years of my life working at the Wilds Christian Camp. And some of you that'll be there next week, if you get up there and you're enjoying the week and you're enjoying the games and you look over and you're like, was that guy just at our church? Yes, I will be there for a little bit of the week, this next week, kind of in and out. My son-in-law and my daughter and two of my grandkids will be there. All right, so we're going to be up helping them a little bit with their So if you see me around and you're like, something's going wrong, I feel like that guy was just at our church. Yes, I'll be up there for a couple days. So I was there at the Wilds for 20 years, preaching and teaching people, youth mainly, that have a lot of gospel witness. And now it is my privilege for the last 5 years, and for however many years the Lord has me in Hong Kong, to kind of do what Paul is talking about here, where I am really sharing the gospel and preaching the gospel where Christ has not been named much. There is definitely a gospel witness in Hong Kong, which I believe there is in most places around the world. There's some, not all places, but most. But in Hong Kong, there has been a gospel witness, but we remind ourselves many times, if we were not doing what we're doing, most likely nobody would be doing it. In other words, there's not like the next person to kind of step in and, hey, I'm going to teach Sunday school for these 6 weeks, and then somebody else will take it for the next 6 weeks. It just doesn't work that way. And so there is a joy and a little bit of a compulsion to realize, you know what? We're doing this, and if we aren't, probably nobody is going to. And so I love the joy of serving the Lord in that way. And it may be something that God would have you consider. I've often said, if a faithful family from a church here in the U.S. stepped into our church, I really don't care. You may think you don't have many gifts or anything. You're like, oh, Pastor Matt, I wouldn't be able to sing. If you're just a faithful family in the church and you step into our church in Hong Kong, you would be, it would just be like, you would be such a blessing in a church like that. Pastors over here going, are you stealing families from my church, Pastor Matt? Maybe, no. And it's not even about Hong Kong, really. It's just saying there are places around the world, and even in the U.S., where they're not sure who's going to play the piano on Sunday, where they're not sure who's going to be there to teach Sunday school, where they're sending out a sign-up sheet, and it's like, will we have anybody sign up? And I grew up in a big church. Hillsdale is a pretty good-sized church. I'm staying in Greenville right now, okay? And I'm like, man, we need like a truth tornado to come through and just like, spread everybody out, around the country, around the world, all right? I just feel part of the ministry of the missionary is to encourage people to consider what God may have them do. To consider. We become very comfortable, myself included. And part of the ministry that we see of the apostles and the disciples is that they were just willing to be inconvenienced and uncomfortable if that's what God wanted them to do to spread the gospel. So I'll leave that there, and let's talk a little bit about Hong Kong. I put this up here so you can see just a general idea. We are in a really, really, really tiny spot there. You can't, maybe you can barely see it, but I also wanted you to see the part of the world that we are in, because God is allowing us by His grace to serve in Hong Kong, but also to minister in a lot of the areas nearby. We have been multiple times into Singapore to do family camps, to speak at churches. We've been into Malaysia to do the same thing. Tiffany and I were in Laos, which the first time I got asked to go to Laos, Pastor, I didn't even know where it was. Somebody was like, hey, can you come to Laos? I was like, sure, where is this place? It's right between Vietnam and Thailand. I've now been there a couple times, so I at least know where it is on the map. Was able to do a missionary kids camp in Thailand. Been to the Philippines, even since January. I've been there 3 times. So just being able to be close by. There's a missionary in Indonesia that has reached out that wants me to come do a parenting conference for them. It was just things like that. That when you're on this side of the world, thinking about that kind of a trip, the jet lag, all of that, it is a weighty thing. I mean, half of your trip often is just the travel. But because we're there, a flight to Manila in the Philippines is a 2-hour flight. Flight to Singapore is a 4-hour flight. And so it took us about 4 hours to fly from Greenville here to Tampa. So in about that span, I can get to a good part of these countries and be able to be a help, whether it's in conferences or camps or speaking to churches, and we've had a privilege of doing some of those kinds of things. This is a zoom in on Hong Kong, and we are, yes, very close to mainland China. We actually have a family. We have a Singaporean family that lives in mainland China that comes to our church almost every Sunday. So Shenzhen, which is a city of about 12 million people, is right across the border from Hong Kong. So they ride the train in and then take a bus, I think it is, to our church. Tiffany and I live here on Lantau Island, which is near the airport. Maybe you can see that. Yeah, it's pretty big up there. You can see that airplane up there. We're very close to the airport. And then our church is on Hong Kong Island, which is about an hour and 5 minutes by public transportation. You say, well, those are islands, so what do you mean by public transportation? You can take a bus. It's a little longer by bus just because of traffic. But we have a really good subway system, and it does go under the water and crossing over. You see where Kowloon is to Hong Kong. It goes under Victoria Harbor there. And so we can get there in about an hour and 5 minutes. We don't have a car, so public transportation is our way of life, and it's really quite convenient. You can pray. We're considering moving down to Hong Kong Island this next fall. We've lived on Lantau Island for about 5 years now, and now that it's just Tiffany and me, it's just the two of us, we can live in a little bit smaller place. We are right now in 850 square feet. Our apartment is 850 square feet. At the Wilds, I think my house was 3,000 square feet, 1,500 on one level, and then 1,500 in the basement. So we have 850 square feet, and we are paying $3,000 US a month for that space. So that will give you a little idea of cost. Hong Kong has been the number one ranked highest cost of living for housing in the world. It's been many years running. I've lost track of how many years running. So it's quite expensive, but we think if we downsize, because we don't need as much space now. We have 3 bedrooms right now, small bedrooms, but they're 3. Downsize, we can hopefully keep about the same cost for rent and live closer to the church on Hong Kong Island, which would be really nice. This is where we live right now. That's the apartment complex we live in. There are 9 blocks, 9 towers of 48 floors with 6. How many flats on each floor? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. 8. There are 8 on each floor. I was right the first time. We are on the 8th floor of our apartment complex. And that picture on the right, we went for a walk to kind of an overlook close by in our area. I just snapped that one Sunday afternoon, and it's a really beautiful area that we get to live in. And a lot of people don't realize how many mountains are in Hong Kong. It's great hiking, beautiful place. This is our church. And remember, this is about an hour from where we live. We are on the 25th floor of a building in the city, a little district called Wan Chai on Hong Kong Island. And we have about 115 people there most Sundays. They've already had their services there. It is 9:45 here, so it's 9:45 in the evening on Sunday night there in Hong Kong. And thankful for our church family. We have a very diverse church family. We have Hong Kongers, we have mainland Chinese, we have Singaporeans, Koreans, Filipinos, Russians, Indian, South African, Australian. I usually forget somebody. Did I miss anybody that you were thinking? Japanese, okay. Just real smattering. Matter of fact, I was reading in my Bible just the other day about, in Psalms, was talking about declare his glory among the heathen, among the nations. All right? I was like, we are getting an opportunity to do that, and thankful for that. This last Christmas, my whole family came to Hong Kong. I have a daughter and her husband. They are at a church in Kentucky where he's the assistant pastor. My son and his wife, he is pastoring a church. He just became the head pastor of a church in Kansas. My daughter Annie just graduated from nursing school at Maranatha, got married 2 weeks ago. My daughter Abby taught as a Christian school teacher last year after graduating from Maranatha. She gets married in 2 weeks. And Jonathan just finished his first year at Maranatha. And so they all were in Hong Kong. And yes, my daughter Sarah brought her basically newborn child to Hong Kong. And so she wins the award for being the most awesome and being willing to do that. While we were there, we did a Christmas concert. We rented a hall and did about an hour and a half of music, vocal music, and I rented instruments for all the kids so they didn't have to bring their cellos on the plane. We did string stuff as well. Had about 350 there for that concert, and it was just a great community thing. The gospel was given. The guy that I work with there, I'll say more about in a second, Pastor Johnson, he shared the gospel at the end, and just very thankful for their willingness, my family's willingness to come and be a part of the ministry in that way. This is one of the schools that I was at. I think I was at this school in January. Part of my ministry, when people ask me, what do you do in Hong Kong? Let's say I get in a taxi. They say, what do you do in Hong Kong? I usually tell them I'm doing two things. One, I'm working at a church, and I tell them about the church. And then I say I'm also working in the schools, because I have several schools that I am in routinely to help. And these are Christian schools in name, where the administration will be happy with the Christian part of it, but most of the students and the families that send their students are not Christian. But I have an opportunity to tell them about camp, to share the gospel with them, to try to be an encouragement to them in a general way. So I think the picture on the left, I'm doing Simon Says with all of those students, and then on the right, I was sharing with them about God's love. So this is an open door, really, and it's one of the things that really intrigued me about Hong Kong is because of English, because of the British influence over the years with even some Christianity in it, a lot of the schools have been founded by Christians. And so because the Christian name is still in the school, they'll still throw some flowers towards Christian stuff. And so it gives me an opportunity to be able to be a help in schools in this way. Before I get too much further, let me tell you about the couple that I work with there in Hong Kong. Pastor, what time do I need to be done? 10:10. Okay, good. The couple I work with in Hong Kong, he and his wife started in Harbin, China, which is basically near Siberia. Okay, it's kind of up that area, cold. He started there teaching kindergarten. He graduated from Bob Jones as an art major, then got a master's in church history. Then after being in Harbin, China for a couple years, they came to Hong Kong. He got a full ride scholarship to a local university there to get his PhD in philosophy. He's one of those people, all right? And I tease him about this all the time. He'll say things like, oh yeah, Matt, you've heard about this author, right? And I just kind of go, oh yeah, of course. And I'm thinking, I have no idea who you're talking about. And then I'll tell him later. I said, who is that? He just laughs. But he's a really, really smart guy. But when you have a combination of intelligence, high intelligence, with high graciousness and humility and a high level of an ability to communicate. What a gift. And that is Pastor Johnson. Jonathan Johnson and his wife, Catherine. She graduated from BJ with an education degree, even got a master's in education. She teaches full-time in an international school there, 3rd grade, is that right? And then Pastor Johnson teaches full-time at Hong Kong University, which is basically like I would always tell people, the Harvard of Asia, but now that's a really bad thing, okay? So it's one of the high-level schools in Asia. And so he teaches a class. One of the classes he teaches is called Life Worth Living. This is in a secular university. He teaches a course called Life Worth Living. He goes through every major religion of the world, most of the major religions of the world, the top ones. And the last 2 weeks of his class, and I've been there for these two classes, he gets to teach on biblical Christianity. And right at the beginning, he tells them what he believes. He tells them he's a pastor. And he has just had an open door. I'm not even sure you could do this in secular universities in the U.S. And it's just been a really great ministry for him. 2 years ago, they were asking him to increase his load at Hong Kong University. And he felt the Lord was opening doors there. And so he came and asked me, when I went to Hong Kong, I was the assistant pastor serving under him. When this happened, he came to me and said, Matt, would you be willing to consider taking the lead role in the church? I could then assist you, and that way I could still be able to keep up with what God has opened up for me at this university. And I said, absolutely. And it's been great. We work together really well. We have a great relationship, lots of good fun together, and so privileged to serve with him. This is the ministry that we had in Laos. This was a family conference that Tiffany and I were able to speak at. Quick funny story. We had a split session, Pastor, and Tiffany went to speak to the ladies, and I was speaking to the men, and the guy that was translating for me, they had never used before. And about halfway through my talking, I saw all these people scurrying, and I had no idea what was going on, and they're going out. And finally, the son of the pastor there, the local, the son went out and said, Dad, he's not translating anything Pastor Matt is saying. And so I spoke the whole time, and he said something else. I have no idea what. That's the first time that's ever happened to me. But anyway, that guy didn't translate for them anymore. But we had a great time there in Laos. It's the only country I've ever been in that doesn't have a McDonald's. I'm like, well, it's just interesting. I've not been to Africa. Okay, I've not been that. But I've been to Mexico. I've been to, all over the world. And Papua New Guinea. And I was like, well, they don't have, but it was a good time. This was something we did this last year. We did a parenting, we called it parent coaching from the Bible, and really opened up some doors in our community. And then also, I'm going to be doing this in Singapore in the fall, and I already mentioned possibly going to Indonesia. I've got a group in the Philippines who would like me to come do this as well. Apparently, it touched a nerve. And I know it's an issue here in the U.S., but apparently it's something people are dealing with. We realized it as I was teaching through Ephesians in our church, get to Ephesians 6. People were like, we need more of this, please. And so this was something we did, and it's been received really well. I'll just put this up here. This is an avenue the Lord has opened for me to have a ministry with some guys. The picture on the right, I just put up because everybody's like, oh yeah, I'm sure you dominate in Hong Kong because you're like taller than everybody. Well, there's my team, okay? And you can see I'm maybe the third tallest, and that's pretty normal. There's a lot of height there. The picture on the left I put up, this is a group of guys. The coach is a Christian. He found out I was a Christian, and he said, would you be willing to come and train with us every Tuesday night? They're a Division III team. Would you come train with us? And at the end of our training, would you share something from the Bible with these guys? And so I do that most Tuesday nights when I can. I don't keep up with them because they're all young, as you can see. But we have a lot of fun, and then I get a chance to share from God's Word. And actually, Maranatha's basketball team is coming to Hong Kong this summer to help with our basketball camp. We're going to do some friendly matches as well. So they're going to play these guys, and these guys will probably beat them, I'm guessing. All right. I watched Jonathan's team this last year, so I think these guys will beat them. But anyway, so we'll have a good time with that, and then the guys from Maranatha will share their testimonies with them. And so I'm just excited for some of these connections God has given for us. This is our church recently on our anniversary Sunday. And so you can see Tiffany and I and Pastor Johnson and Catherine right there in the front. and then the whole rest of the group. I wish I could tell you stories about all these people, about what God is doing. I'll just give you one quick one. There's a couple in this picture that she is from Taiwan, okay, Taiwan. He is from China, okay, and his parents are fairly high up in the CCP. Okay, so Taiwan, China, they married. It's just fun, all right? There's just all these kind of fun stories about what God is. Most of these people are first-generation Christians. So most of them, their family, their parents are not believers. They're trying to reach their parents, and it's a joy to be able to serve with these people. These are three guys that not only do I meet with most weeks, we text just about every day. We share with each other what we're reading in our Bible. These three guys, all three of them, their lives were almost completely destroyed because of alcohol or drug addiction. And the guy in the front, Wilmar, he's my bud. I mean, they're all my buds, but Wilmar has been, I've probably been meeting with him every week for 5 years. Not literally every week, but almost every week for 5 years. And these other two guys, you pray for them. They have things that are a struggle for them, but they're desiring of growing. They're sharing what they're reading in their Bible, and a couple of them, their family situation is still a struggle. So you pray for these guys as God continues to work in their hearts. I saw you have your VBS coming up. We have our VBS coming up. Matter of fact, talking about demysticizing missions, do you realize that most of what your church is doing here in Tampa, whether it's in a service or even in some of the outreach things you're trying to do, it's very similar to what we're doing in Hong Kong? Do you realize that singing and preaching and offering and the Lord's table and prayer and scripture reading that are a part of your services, that's because the Bible tells us that's what should be a part of our services. And so whether it's Hong Kong or Tampa, those same things are going on. I was listening to Brother Steve talk to the choir, and he was like, man, there's too much R. And I was like, I tell my choir that all the time. And because most of them, English is their second language, it's even a little bit harder, all right? But they were singing a song, rehearsing a song. I'm like, hey, our choir just did that one a little bit ago. It's just fun. Our choir doesn't sound anything like that, okay? But they're learning, they're growing. VB, just things like this. We're seeking to be able to reach out. We did our first VBS last year. We had, I think, over 40 on the last night. No? Over 30 on the last night. I'm just getting excited. Okay. Over 30 on the last night. We already have, I think, 15, something like that, signed up for this year. And so we'll see how that goes. This is the basketball camp that we're doing. In case you're wondering, the one on the left, you probably can't read, although there may be some people in here that can read that. But this was our advertisement for our camp. The Maranatha basketball team will be there. This is our 4th year to do basketball camp. That $500 is not U.S., okay? That's Hong Kong, which is about 65 U.S. dollars. It's 4 days of camp. It's not overnight. 3 different age groups. And right now we have 130, pretty close, 130 signed up for that. We have over 50 in the 6 to 8-year-old group, over 50 in the 9 to 12-year-old group, and around 28 to 29 in the 13 to 18-year-old group. And so we're very excited for that. People are still signing up. I can't take any more than the 50. You think about 50 kids at a basketball camp. Thankfully, I've got all those guys to help me, okay? Because if I didn't, you only have a few goals, and it'd be chaos. It'd be chaos anyway. But there's a few pictures from last year's basketball camp. It was basically my son and I and Tiffany at the registration table. And by the way, the registration table is crazy. T-shirts, you guys, you've seen that, but this is our summer camp. This is like going to the wilds in Hong Kong. Okay, that's the easiest way for me to describe it. It's not a full week. We start on Sunday afternoon and go till Wednesday morning for the junior age. And then we go from Wednesday afternoon to Saturday morning for the teenagers. Okay, so it's a little shorter. But our first year, we had around 40-something total between junior camp and teen camp. Last year, so that was 40, maybe 45. Last year, we had 150. And this year, right now, we have 108 plus 80. right around that. So 188, somewhere in there, signed up. So it's continuing to grow. Our primary camp has a waiting list of about 50 on it right now. So it's just exploding. And in the main service, I'll show you a short video clip of last year's junior camp. So you can kind of see what it's like and what's going on there. I think that's all I have. Oh yeah, here's the picture of the group. This is the teenagers. This is the secondary group along with the staff. And we bring counselors. We had counselors from Singapore last year. We also had counselors from the U.S. and doing the same thing again this year. My brother Mark has been with me every time we've done this. This will be our third year. And he's just a huge blessing to be able to say, hey, go do that. And he knows what I mean. And I don't even have to worry about it. So that's been a wonderful help. Since we expanded, we had to get a few more counselors this year. So in the future, if you're a young adult and you're like, hey, I could go do that for a week, keep that in mind as far as an opportunity to serve. This was our primary camp. We're inside because it was raining a lot that week, but you'll see a little bit more on a video from this group. We've got a couple minutes. Let me give you, anybody have any questions about Hong Kong? Let me answer a couple really quick. A couple questions that come up. How do you like the food? The food is amazing. All right, think big cities, you've got a lot of options. So we eat a lot of Vietnamese, we eat a lot of Indian, we eat a lot of Thai food. The local Hong Kong food is pretty good. We do like dim sum, if you've had that before. That is a big thing for Hong Kong. A lot of the Chinese food we like. We have had chicken feet. It's not bad. It's just not much meat. It's just kind of more trouble than it's worth. We do not like durian. If you don't know what that is, just thank God, okay? Although I had somebody message me from Hong Kong. I said this to somebody, and they messaged me from Hong Kong last week and like, we love durian. We can't believe you don't like it. You just haven't tried the right kind. And they said, you need to try Malaysian durian. I wrote back, tried it. And I did a thumb down, So anyway, all of our ministry is in English. We do know a little bit of Cantonese, but a very little. English is very prominent in Hong Kong. Periodically, I run into a situation where not speaking Cantonese is a problem, but most of the time, English is just fine. So, yes, was that a question? Yeah. Great question. Great question. How do you interact with the other religions? So, Tiffany and I were just commenting on this. Probably about a month and a half ago, we were on a walk, and I just said, one of the things that's been really, really good for us is to realize that most of the people we talk to don't have a background of biblical Christianity, right? They don't even have that foundation. Now, it's probably changing a little bit here in the U.S., but at least when I was growing up, most of the people had a connection to the Bible. They at least knew, and there it's just not the case. And so just simply sharing with them about who God is, what we believe the Bible teaches, why we believe the Bible is our source of truth, what makes it different than the Book of Mormon and the Quran, why is it more reliable, more trustworthy, pointing out some of the things with Buddhism is a big deal there, ancestor worship is a big deal, and as we even talked just a couple days ago, materialism is just the love of money, just getting all you can. And you say, it sounds like America. Yeah, I mean, it's a big deal there. And so demonstrating the love of Christ to them, helping them see that there is hope in Jesus Christ. Hong Kong's suicide rate is very high, okay, because there's not a lot of hope for them about making it in life, especially for young people. If they don't get good grades, they can't get into the universities there in Hong Kong. It means they can't get a good job, which means they can't make it. I mentioned about the housing market. They can't survive, so they end up having to live with their parents. And there's just all of these things. And so trying to show them the joy of the Lord, just interacting with a smile makes a big difference when people ask questions, especially as a white person. Right? Unfortunately, a lot of the white people there are snobby and put-offish, and just trying to show kindness goes a long way in that way. But yeah, great question. Yes?
How about the generic awareness of
Well, you just went above my pay grade. Number one, Hong Kong does not have many earthquakes. We don't have any volcanoes. Not that I know of. Yeah, I don't think anything is. So obviously, Japan has had some earthquakes. Taiwan has had some earthquakes even recently, but Hong Kong has not been impacted by those. I believe that. Yeah. We just haven't. We get typhoons, and that's about the extent of our bad weather. So I tell people, and this will connect with you all, if you want to think about how the weather is in Hong Kong, check Miami. Miami is very similar climate-wise to what Hong Kong is, and almost corresponds by the day. Not exactly. Like it'll get down, it gets really cold into the low 50s, all right, there in Hong Kong, and but that's about it. So, yeah, good question.